Code monkey, get up, get coffee. Code monkey, go to job. Code monkey, have boring meeting with boring manager Rob. Rob say code monkey very diligent, but his output stink. His code not functional or elegant. What do code monkey think? Code monkey think maybe manager wanna write login page himself. Code monkey not say it out loud. Code monkey not crazy, just proud. Code monkey like Fritos. Code monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code monkey very simple man. Big warm fuzzy secret heart. Code monkey like you. Code monkey like you.
What's new, Dino Dudes? It's me, the Media Raptor, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Raptor Reviews. Tonight, we're just going to cut straight to the chase. We're reviewing a 2004 superhero movie. You might be thinking, have I missed a Marvel movie or something that I'm getting in before Avengers Endgame? Nope. I'm taking a look at Hellboy. Yeah, back in 2004, that's when the first live-action Hellboy movie came out. It's been 15 years, so with a remake in the very near future, I figured, why not? Let's just review the previous two Hellboy movies. And no, I'm not reviewing the other animated one because the Blu-ray I had that had the two animated movies on it I sold a while ago. They were both really good, but yeah, I remember like a long time ago I reviewed, I think it was Sword of Storms for Marvel May before I realized that Hellboy was actually Dark Horse Comics. That was a mistake. Anyhow, let's just talk about Hellboy. The interesting thing, at least about the creation of the movie, is the fact that this came out in 2004. Think about superhero movies back in 2004. Sure, we had things like X-Men, I believe the first Spider-Man movie, and I think maybe Fantastic Four came out that year. Let me just check my book real quick. My point is, superhero movies were far from a commonplace thing where everyone had to have their own franchise. They were very much often considered to be a joke, even to an extent of being that they wouldn't be financially successful. Now, granted, in 2009, Iron Man would come along and say, hey, hold my beer, I'll show you how this is done. And, well, you know, a multi-billion-dollar franchise was launched. But at least back in 2004, superhero movies weren't exactly common. So, hang on. Fantastic Mr. Fox. Okay, Fantastic Four came out 1 year after Hellboy. My point is, superhero movies back then were not that common. Yes, we had the Marvel ones, the DC ones in the 80s, but we hadn't, you know, it wasn't a frequent thing like it is today. So was Hellboy a good movie? Yeah. I personally much prefer the sequel, Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, which I'll go into when I review that. But for what it is, Hellboy is still a very entertaining movie that I can highly recommend to people who enjoy comic book movies. It's got some good action, great characters, fantastic acting and special effects, and overall, yeah, it's a fun movie. It does follow a number of cliches in the sense of, well, the whole, you know, superhero has to, like, come to terms with their powers, understand who they are, the whole, I'm a social outcast, the world won't accept me, dealing with the whole, like, I love this girl, but she's also in love with someone else, should I let her go, or should I pursue her? The new guy who's never seen any weird stuff comes in, and all of a sudden now he's thrown into this crazy world with Hellboy and Abe and Liz and all these other characters, and then Rasputin and Nazis show up and they try to destroy the world. I'm not a huge Hellboy comic reader yet because I haven't gotten around to reading them, but I have been reading them more frequently, and they're really good. So I can't tell you exactly how accurate this was, but I do know they did kind of cut a lot of the whole more demon side out of Hellboy, at least with the whole, like, some of the flashbacks to him actually in hell and stuff like that. So it's much more of a strained movie, which is kind of having Nazis and Rasputin trying to take over the world. But it certainly does work. It's got some good humor. The characters are all very likable and relatable. Well, not relatable, but they certainly are likable. There's at no point am I like, wow, I really wish this character would die. In fact, the one main character, spoiler for like a 15-year-old movie, the one character who does die, it's actually pretty sad to watch. especially considering the scene that just came before it. But yeah, overall, solid plot, a bit cliched and a bit slow a few times. I think my main complaint is the pacing, the fact that the plot kind of seems to start and go, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what, we're going to go off and do some character development stuff and leave you guys back here. We'll see you at the action scene. But part of what makes even the somewhat wonky pacing work is the acting. Ron Perlman is fantastic as Hellboy. I love Ron Perlman. This is probably my favorite or my second favorite Ron Perlman role, second only to Clay from Sons of Anarchy. Recently I actually got to meet Ron Perlman and got him to sign a picture of Hellboy. That thing is now framed on my wall, and I'm super happy to have it. I don't really have an opinion on David Harbour yet, and I'm not going to say, oh, he can never replace Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman will always be my Hellboy. I'm actually quite interested to see how he does, but the movie isn't out yet, so can't say too much, and I haven't watched Stranger Things yet, surprisingly. So, Ron Perlman does a fantastic job. Doug Jones, this guy has been in a lot of stuff, and I mean that both in terms of makeup and, makeup and roles. This guy, one thing that's always amazed me with Doug Jones is his ability to character act, or even just act in makeup. Essentially, once he gets into that makeup, he's no longer Doug Jones, he's just that character. So, yeah, our two main character leads are great. Our main female lead is great. The newcomer guy, he does a good job. The guy who plays the professor, I forget his last name, like Professor Bloom or something, does a good job. The guy who plays Rasputin is actually kind of intimidating. I do like the whole mythology they messed around with him here, giving him a unique and interesting story, despite the fact that Rasputin was never really in league with Nazis, but historical inaccuracies, you're in the wrong movie for that if you care. Anyhow, special effects. The CG admittedly is somewhat dated and has kind of stood the test of time well enough, but it is kind of clear, like, you can tell it's CG. I think back in 2004, this would have been like, wow, that looks awesome. But now it still looks good. It doesn't look like a Sci-Fi Channel movie. The models always stay same size and on point. But you know what still looks fantastic 15 years later? The makeup. Yeah, we don't have to talk much about this, but the makeup for Abe and Hellboy, this is some of the best makeup I've ever seen in any movie ever. So yeah, aside from that, we got the camera work, which is fine, the music, which is fine. I don't remember too much from the score or the soundtrack in this. But yeah, overall, I can highly recommend Hellboy. I'm giving it 3 Raptor Claws out of 4. It's very entertaining. Not the most memorable film in the world, but I don't really have too many complaints with it. And sometimes that's all you need for a movie. It's not trying to start like a multi-billion-dollar franchise like Iron Man was. It just wanted to be its own thing. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, I do recommend you go watch it. And I do recommend you read some Hellboy comics because they are extremely well written. And I love Mike Mignolia's art style. He's got a very minimalistic and yet cartoonish and yet realistic style that I just think looks amazing. Anyhow, that's all for this episode, so come back soon. I'm going to be reviewing Hellboy 2 real soon. And until next time, this has been the Media Raptor saying keep cool, and I'll see all you Dino Dudes around. Later.